Alright everyone, now we have to talk about Britney Spears, which, strikes some people as funny because, of course, I don't really do the celebrity thing. I'm not really interested, certainly in that era of pop music, because the 2000s were basically the dark age, especially with pop. Like, there was some good rock going on. If you used the internet, if you used YouTube back when the related video system actually made sense, you could find all sorts of great music. Most of which didn't come from the era, but black metal's a thing, grindcore's a thing, whatever. Handful of good punk bands still existed before they sold out and went woke. Now I think Johnny Rotten's the last one that didn't, and he literally self-satirizes the sellout thing, which is hysterical. Anyway, we have to talk about her conservatorship. Because I think that this has much wider reaching ramifications, some of which are cultural. The idea that the government, through the legal system, should be forcing a 40-year-old woman not to get married, not to have kids and stuff, while keeping her in a conservatorship where initially, until yesterday, she couldn't even appoint her own fucking lawyer. And they only went back on that, by the way, because the old lawyer refused to continue defending the conservatorship. The justice system sees the writing on the wall. She'll probably be released from it. I think she's going to sue her dad. I think she plans that. She should sue the judge. Was there some sort of backroom deal going on that the public doesn't yet know about? Because I have a sneaking suspicion that the sleazy lawyers that are still defending her dad, I have a feeling that they're very, very happy about the fact that they're making so much money. How much do they charge per hour? And by the way, Spears literally, under her conservatorship, has to actually fund her dad's lawyers, literally paying the people that oppose her gaining her freedom. This situation stinks to high hell, number one, is all sorts of screwy, number two, and number three, it doesn't even make basic sense. Here you have a now middle-aged Britney Spears. She's perfectly able, and in fact, her dad apparently micromanages this and openly encourages her, hey, do another show and stuff. She's able to go on a multi-city tour. And she can do this, by the way, if she calls up the people there, she can get a tour going lickety-split. They love it because, of course, it's going to be profitable. She's Britney Spears. She's one of the biggest figures from the decade prior to this one. She was active late 2010s as well. She still had quite a functional career, and certainly when she was first making music, it was Madonna levels of famous. People who are at that level, they can make money basically anytime. Any day she wants, she can wake up and make $500,000 in an afternoon. Just choose the fucking city. You don't even have to announce it. It'll sell out instantly. It's Britney Spears. She got a $60 million estate. I wonder why her dad wouldn't want to dissolve the conservatorship. Under this premise, when someone is capable of doing that, now her dad manages affairs, but she's obviously mentally competent enough to go on a strenuous, long-winded tour for weeks or months at a time, making huge amounts of money in the process, and yet the court deems her incapable of determining whether she should be married, determining who her own lawyer should be, dissolving the conservatorship outright. She's not in a nut ward or anything like that. They won't even let her get pregnant. She has a court-mandated IUD inserted into her that she's not allowed to get removed. By the way, they're allowed to literally pull down her skirt and check at any moment's notice. Then not only is that depraved, it should be absolutely illegal for this sort of situation to happen. No reasonable court would assert, based on Britney Spears' current behavior, that she's a threat to herself and others and incapable of managing her affairs. I think that it would set a damning legal precedent if this conservatorship weren't dissolved. I think that perhaps the Department of Justice should come in and examine the lawyer, go through their communications records and see if there wasn't some sort of collusion behind the scenes. Personally, I think this sort of conservatorship should be illegal already. If a person truly is that nuts, they can't handle their money, they're not mentally they don't have the mental wherewithal to consent to a marriage or anything like that. Hell, they certainly can't have a kid, so we gotta put them in a chastity belt. If they're that kind of loopy, they should be in a nut ward. And if they're not in a nut ward, and they're not doing anything wrong, they're dancing around on stage, they're singing, they're doing their thing, they still have how much a week does she get as an allowance, which is even more depraved? She still gets a huge amount of money to play around with. Can't do anything with it, but I suppose she can sit there and look at the money she's allowed to make for other people. The idea is that she should be free. She should be able to make her own decisions. Yes, she had a nervous breakdown, but you've got to understand the predication for the breakdowns that Britney had in the past. Massively strenuous schedule, constantly hounded by paparazzi. You can't go to a restaurant when you're that famous. When you're Jackson, when you're fucking Billy Joel or something, when you reach that level, you're Gene Simmons, you're Ozzy Osbourne, everybody knows you. Even people that don't care about you know who you are. They all want an autograph. They can sell it on eBay. You're hounded by people from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. You'd probably have a breakdown too. She was like in her early 20s. She's a young mother, strenuous schedule. She's probably using substances. Let's face it, it's sort of a thing that people do. And if it was anyone else that were boozing or snorting cocaine, come on. They all do the same fucking shit. She had a breakdown and she chased some paparazzi around with an umbrella. Worried about the fact that their cash cow was going to go away. Her family stages an intervention. Please, give a conservatorship. Don't worry. We won't mistreat you or anything like that. We're not going to hold you prisoner when it's just for while you're in the hospital. You need to adjust to some medication. Take some time off. Calm down. And then everything will be fine. No, they take her kids away and then work her like a slave for the subsequent decade. That's clearly wrong. It's clearly abusive. How can the judge should be laughing at the defense lawyers already and saying, look, you're just not going to win your case. There's no legal justification for it. This person's capable of speaking openly in court. She's not going off the rails. She's not incoherent. You're telling her that she should do all of these shows. She's allowed to travel around. She's allowed to have a boyfriend. They can fuck and everything else. She can consent to that, but not to consent to having a baby. She can have an allowance, but she can't have control over her wider income. And somehow you have to be paid to represent your own daughter, but she has to pay for your lawyers. Well, that's clearly abusive. Think of the precedent that's set. If the judge allows this, they should end the conservatorship, she should sue her father into goddamn jail, and then the DOJ should headhunt after the goddamn lawyer overseeing the lawyers and judge overseeing the case to see if there wasn't some sort of private communication beyond the pale. I think it did. I think it did happen. I openly believe that. I think that the lawyers are sleazebags. I think you had to have found a lawyer that worked for Merck or something like that in order to defend the conservatorship, to be clear. And was the judge involved? Maybe. Now, when you're talking about that kind of money, look, it's just a matter of, hey, I can sign the checks. Yeah, you get your cut. You'll get an extra $1,000 a week in income for the foreseeable future. Just make sure to maintain the conservatorship. How is it impossible this happens? Some Benjamins get left in a brown bag outside the judge's door once in a while. Is it impossible? Has it never happened before? There's never been a judge that got bought off. It's never happened in history. The lawyers don't act as middlemen and whisper to the judge at rare occasions and say, hey, the checks just got deposited this morning. It's impossible. Nobody would want control of a $60 million pile of goddamn fortune that grows by the month because Britney Spears is being worked to death by her family. By the way, if she has another breakdown, they'd probably use that as evidence. Well, we need to keep the conservatorship up. So maybe they're trying to make her have another mental breakdown by doing this horse shit, by making her life living hell. As a libertarian, no, I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that it's a defensible position. That's about all. Peace out.